What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah. And today, Tori is my extra, and I am the ordinary. Tori Tunes, you delightful chap, you bring such refreshment and joy to my heart. Every time that I think of you in prayer over all of these years, and likewise as the Lord brings your person to my remembrance at different times, that just the consideration of you and God's grace to you that has then come through you to me brings me so much refreshment and encouragement. I thank God for you, and I bless you in Jesus' name. Fam, I absolutely love my new intro graphic. Now, the intro sequence is new, but the graphic is not. Now, the graphic was first revealed on this channel as like the second, third, fourth episode of Extraordinary Life with Elijah. It's been so encouraging to me to go back and re-engage the beginnings of what God did in Extraordinary Life with Elijah. It's one of my favorite verses of all times, that perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Now, as I went back to look at my episodes from the beginning and moving forward, it was so beautiful to see how this process of perseverance has helped to grow my quality in my videos, how it's grown the skills in me to be able to connect with you so personally here in these videos. It's so drastic to go back 2.5+ years ago to see where I started, but so encouraging to see how perseverance has been having its good work in me to build into me maturity, completeness, and wholeness. Likewise, engaging the testimony of what God has done has so completely revitalized my strength in Him. Being encouraged, remembering what God has said, and therefore helping to activate my ears further to hear better what He's saying here in this time and space. Now, as I started out the channel from the dream that He had given me from so long ago, as I merged into developing the graphic with God, and we had so many conversations over such a long time about what it was that we were up to, what was the vision, what was the call, what was the faith that He had given me, what was the grace that He had given me, what was the grace that He had not given me. The graphic developed from a context of my identity in Him. I didn't want it to be computer graphics based. I wanted it to flow out of a context of being a signature. I love to write. Out of that context, I wanted the graphic to be one continuous line and be the expression of a signature, capturing that idea of being identity based. So the graphic starts out in the middle, looks like an E, comes around, comes over the top, and down. Now, this is the overflow of the very ordinary expression of me and Jesus. I've been doing doodles like this for years, that there is so much meaning contained within this graphic that God and I co-created together, that out of the overflow of me just loving the heaven into this graphic. I love what we made together, that out of the exercise of my gifts before the Father to please His heart, that it imparted grace to my friend Tori, that as then she saw the expression of my life, which is very ordinary for me, that it awakened her giftings to then contact me to say, I see what you did there, and gotta see it one more time. I did not create my graphic here to have all of those letters there. That was her exercising her gifts before the Father, that then imparted grace to me to know my Father more at a level that I didn't even think was possible. Now, friends, I absolutely love my new intro, and that I can now play that at the beginning of all of my episodes to put on display every time that I post a video extraordinary life with Elijah. Isn't that amazing? I encourage you to go back and watch the initial video. Friends, my encouragement to you is brought to you, co-created by Elijah and Tori, is that out of the overflow of our Father's heart, that as we fully show up to family, to be uniquely and authentically ourselves in Him, the net result is a return in awareness of who He is that far outpaces anything that any one of us could discover on our own. It still mystifies me. Extraordinary life with Elijah. I absolutely love that intro. I have watched it so many times. It still absolutely boggles my mind. The net result of us expressing the very ordinary, everyday grace that God has given to each one of us, that we walk in as easily as breathing, but that as we breathe that out to another, to receive it, that those empty places that are capacity, that we breathe that out and it's breathed into another. And now my lungs are empty and they breathe that breath back to me and I breathe that back to them and they breathe it back to me, that there's this exhale, inhale process of we disciple us as we, the image bearers of heaven, breathe back and forth the singular breath that God breathed into Adam's lungs that is just multiplying, getting bigger and bigger as the fullness of His infinite person comes to be indwelt within a people. It's the overflow of my Father's heart, who dreamed to impart the identity and the inherent inheritance of His person, gifted to all humanity, that we could know Him and be within His person by His presence, and that it's multiplying, that it's growing, that it's expanding to cover the entire earth with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Fam, as I go back to remember what it was that the Lord has done and allow myself to be instructed in the testimony of what He has done in and through me, I'm so revitalized in my passion, in my love, in my vision for reaching out for all of you, my fam. It's so easy out of the overflow of our lives, the things that come so naturally to us, the things that we find so beautiful, that we find so full of meaning, that as we innocently and vulnerably bring those things in our hands, those things of beauty, to share them with others, to say, look at this beautiful thing that I co-created with God. Isn't this wonderful? I love this so much. And then we find that it's either met with indifference or rejection or criticism or disgust, that it's so easy then to pull those things back to ourselves and to slowly retreat into shadow, to self-protect. As a dear friend of mine has said, Dustin, the culmination of isolation is death. And for too long in my earlier years, as a result of hurts or indifferent expressions to the things that were the overflow of the beauty of my life, I hid in shadows, and there became something that God never intended. Good things never grow in the dark, and it's often things that grow there with roots of bitterness that rise up to defile many. We become closet critics, hiding in the shadows, criticizing other people for not living out of the vision and the good works that God has destined us to live out of, for us to lead. But that as God has healed those things in my heart, that He's established those things within my identity, that me plus God is a super majority. And therefore, if all the world, 7.9 plus billion of all of you, were my proactive forsworn enemies, God plus me would be a super majority, and I would be perfectly content in Him. Therefore, in that worst case scenario in life, if that's the worst case scenario, but I am content, then that means I've been given the sufficiency in Him to jump out of that place of suppression, to pursue all of my enemies in love, and to pray for them, and to seek them to be a part of the fullness part of my family. That's why I'm stepping out in faith in extraordinary life with Elijah to pursue you, my fam. There's so many beautiful people in the world, and not all, even a very small majority of the world are my proactive enemies. I'd say maybe on one hand, there are people out there that are my proactive forsworn enemies. That means the rest of the world is my open potential for being my immediate family by the power of Christ. If you're not in that space, if you've had hurts and wounds over the years and have drawn back in the expression of the good works that God has called you to do, my grace imparted to you is to call you forward into the expression of the good works that God has given you to do by faith, such that I could receive that from you as grace to know my Father more, and therefore breathe it back to you in a way that helps you to be in a state of awe, wonder, and worship before the extraordinary love of our Father. If you subscribe to what I am doing, then hit the button, hit it, and then get it. Hit the bell as well so you get notified with the new content. And if you love this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on all of your days. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.